Hey Stephen, it's Aunt Bets. I want to share with you my recipe and my process for making French fries. Let's get started. First of all, I use the heaviest pan that we have. This is an iron skillet. You can see it's pretty thick, it's pretty tough. I like to use iron because the metal is tough and it will keep the temperature of the oil constant. Because if you make more than one pan full of fries, the oil has to stay hot. Otherwise, they get greasy, they get soggy, they don't get crisp. So, the first thing I'm going to do is take my oil while the pan is cold, and I'm going to put like up to my knuckle with oil. So that's about an inch or close to it. So I'm going to go ahead and pour it in, maybe about that much. Now I'm going to move to the potatoes. Hang on. Okay, so now I'm going to start with the potatoes. And there are a few rules that you have to keep in mind. Number one, oil and water don't mix. And so whatever you do, you have to make sure that you don't put any kind of oil or any kind of liquid, any water, anything like that in the oil once it's getting hot. In my pan here, I have it on sort of medium high heat, and it's warming up right now while I'm cutting the potatoes, and I'm not going to put any water into it because it's going to spackle up, and it's going to probably splash in my face, and it's probably going to burn my face or my hands. The other thing is that you have to use a knife that's as sharp as possible. Now you have to be careful when you use it, but it's actually much safer to use a sharp knife than it is to use a knife that's not very sharp. The other thing is that the peel on the potato is actually very, very nutritious. It has a lot of good vitamins in it that people whose bones are growing need a lot. It's like potassium and other things. So I'm going to start cutting the potatoes. And I want to make sure that the potato doesn't roll around because that's not safe. So I'm going to hold it and then I'm going to cut it like that, right? And the flat side I'm going to put down because then it's not going to roll around. And then I'm going to make slices like this. And I'm going to move my fingers out of the way of the blade. And then I have a strip that looks like this. And I can cook it like that, or I can cut it in half like that, and then I have a French fry. So I'm going to finish doing that with the rest of these potatoes. And I do want them to be all the same size because then they all cook at the same time, and then you won't have some that are burnt and some that are raw. You want them to all be cooked at the same time. I'm going to take this other half, do the same thing. I can usually get about 3 strips out of that. Cut that one, cut that one, and I always make sure that I put the flat side down on the board because if the potato starts to roll, especially with a knife that's sharp, then I will cut my hand. So I'm going to cut that, make a slice, a slice, a slice. Sometimes I can even take 2 at a time and just cut down the middle like that. But it's kind of slippery, and so safety is more important. So maybe I don't want it to be slippery, maybe I want to be safe, so I'll just do them 1 at a time. See? Okay, I'm going to cut these up, and then we're going to come back to the oil. Stay tuned. Okay, so now I've cut up all the potatoes, and as you can see, there's a big pile here. My oil is still on the stove. I still have it on medium-high heat. It's actually between medium and medium-high, so it's heating up. Now, I might put my hand really high over the oil and I can feel the heat. And if I look at the oil, it looks like it's rippling a little bit. So that says to me that it might be ready. But I want to test it. And remember, I don't ever want to put any water, anything like that, into the oil. So I'm going to take one of my French fries. This is a raw French fry. And I'm going to kind of sit it in the oil. I'm going to be very careful because this pan is very hot. Can you hear that? That sizzle? That says to me that this oil is ready. And so I'm going to put that in. I'm going to grab a bunch of them. I'm not going to put too many because you don't want to lower the temperature of the oil. I have this skimmer, and this is going to help me from getting burned, or you can use your spatula. And I'm going to lay them on there, and I'm going to lay them into the oil so that I don't get burned, right? I'm going to put a few more. I don't want to touch the oil at all because I'm sure you know it's hot. Do you see what I'm doing? So I'm not putting very many. Let me see. And here I have a plate with a paper towel. I'm going to set that there so I don't make a big mess. Let me see if I can kind of bring my camera over here so you can see what's going on in the pan. So you can see they're bubbling. And now this is not really the traditional way to make French fries. In Belgium, where they were started, they would cook them first in colder oil that was not that hot, and they would wait for them to get limp, and then they would take them out and they would put them on the paper towel or on a towel, and then later on they'd come back and refry them again, and that's how they would get crispy. But this, in the United States, normally what we do is just once. So we're cooking, and you can see the oil, how it's bubbling. And remember, the oil was hot before I put any of the fries in there. And I used the spatula to kind of help me, or the skimmer, or you can use your spatula to help me put the fries into the hot oil. So these are going to cook up, and I'm going to pull them out, and then I'll show you what I do after that. So stay tuned. Okay, now we're about ready to take these fries out. Let me see if I can let you see what they look like. You can kind of see here that they're golden, and they've gotten brown. They've gotten brown all by themselves. And then when I put my skimmer on them, I can feel that they're kind of stiff. So I'm going to pull them out, and you can do this with a spatula or tongs too. And I'm going to put them on the plate very carefully. I'm going to keep in mind that this is very hot oil, right? I want to be careful. I want to be careful I don't drip it everywhere. Trying to get you into the view here, right? This is very hot oil. Here is where I will put more in while I deal with that batch. So the same thing, I'm going to put, and the spatula is going to be really hot, so you have to be careful. So I'm going to put fries on here, and I'm going to lower them into the oil. Same thing, do some more. Again, the spatula is hot, and I'm not going to put too many in the oil because I don't want the temperature of the oil to drop too much. I'm going to lay them in gently. Let's see if I can you can see this a little bit better. So I lay them in gently, and I'm gently going to push them into place. Now, the best time to season French fries is when they're hot. And so I can put all kinds of things on them now at this point. I can put some salt. So I'm just going to shake a little bit into my hand, right? Too much salt is not good. And I'm going to sprinkle directly on. I've got some garlic or onion powder here. That would be good. So I'm going to sprinkle some of that on. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. And I have pepper. See? Pepper. sprinkle that on. Just a little bit, doesn't need a whole lot. Now, I can put vinegar if I want to. Here's my balsamic vinegar. And so, I might just sprinkle it on very gently. Just a little bit. Because it doesn't need a lot. And then, maybe what I do is I'll take the tongs again, or the thingy again. Let me get this out of the way. And I might kind of mix it around a little bit to make sure that every fry has some seasoning on it. And that's what I come up with. And I have these other ones here in the oil. I'm going to repeat the same thing. As soon as they get brown and crispy, I'm going to take them out and I'm going to drain them on this. But those are my fries. Talk to you later. I hope you like the recipe. Bye. One last thing I forgot to tell you, Stevie. You never, ever, ever pour the oil into the sink, especially not when it's hot. Turn off the fire on the stove. If you can, safely push the pan to a burner that's not being used. Let it sit there and cool until it's perfectly cool, like the temperature in the oil in the bottle. Then pour it into something so that you could reuse it. You probably could even pour it back into the oil bottle, but you need to talk to your mom about that first, okay? Talk to you soon. Bye.